us right now. We are talking to Josh Gad. Josh, good morning, man.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you? Is this? I always have
I'm
to
great.
ask.
I got my cup of coffee. My baby is fed. Life is good.
That is very good. You probably know Josh from a lot of stuff. Love and Other Drugs, 21, The Rocker, The Daily Show. You've done a lot of little fun stuff. And then also, for anybody that's into Broadway, like me, you're in the Book of Mormon on Broadway.
I am the star of the Book of Mormon, and it is the funnest gig ever.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Were you always like a musical theater person, or were you just like an actor that kind of decided, like, I could probably pull off musical as well?
Well, what was funny is I went to conservatory, but I couldn't get into the musical theater department. They're like, that's not your destiny. And then my first big break came in a musical on Broadway.
That's
so I was
funny.
like, oh, well, what do you think of that, teachers?
Yeah, take that.
Yeah, but that's the only reason I did it, was to be spiteful and get back at my professors.
Exactly. Did you get to work, I mean, since the show, you were in the first run of it, correct? The original production?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this for 4 years. I was workshopping it. I got a phone call about 4 years ago from Trey and Matt's partner, Bobby Lopez, who was like, I'm working on this new show with the South Park guys about Mormons. And I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, South Park guys and Mormons? Yeah,
it's been a ride ever since, and from the beginning I knew it was pretty special.
Yeah, definitely. And also on IMDb, they're reporting a movie version of this. Is that just a rumor, or is there some talk about doing a movie of the Book of Mormon?
Well, Trey and Matt have said eventually they want to do a film. I think it's very premature at this point to know anything more than that, but I'm sure eventually, if the popularity remains this strong, you can probably bet there's going to be a movie.
That would be awesome. What did you know before you went into this project about Mormons? Like, what was your view of the Mormon Church and Mormons in general before going into this project?
I got to be honest, not much. I mean, I have some friends who are Mormons, and I just considered it like any other religion, as I still do. But I think every religion has its elements that some people can laugh at and giggle at, but they're all equal, I think, sometimes in that sense. And I think Trey and Matt only chose the Mormon religion because Mormons are the happiest people on earth, and they wanted to do a Disney-like kind of ode to religion, and it almost seemed a perfect fit.
Yeah, it totally is. So, I mean, so your view on Mormons hasn't changed since, learning so much about them and doing the musical. It's still kind of like, yeah, they got weird stuff just like every other religion, and still good people.
Yeah, I think that the Mormon Church is an unbelievable institution. I think that it's done an incredible amount of good for a lot of its followers, and our show, I think, is actually a celebration in a weird way of what religion can do to a people who are rather desperate.
Yeah.
I won't go much more into that because I'd love for everybody to come experience it for themselves, but it's Trey and Matt, I know for a fact, love Mormons.
That's cool.
They've done it on their show, and they continue to do it on Broadway.
We don't want to spoiler alert the musical there. Check that out. That's Book of Mormon.
I actually die at the end.
It's a very, very rough mission. And let's talk about good vibes. Now, I was raised Mormon. That's why it's so funny for me to hear that.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So
aren't you happy that I was very delicate about the way that I spoke about it now? Because I could sense that.
Well, yeah, I know. You could feel it in my voice. You're like, he sounds so kind and loving. His voice right now is just choosing the right. Let's talk about Good Vibes, your new show on MTV. People, I'm sure, have seen trailers for the show. There's this whole new animation coming back to MTV, kind of a retro.
Yeah, great animation block. We're following the brilliant Beavis and Butthead, which has returned after a rather long hiatus. And, this is a show I'm so immensely proud of. It's David Gordon Green created it a few years ago, actually, about 3 years ago, and it's been a long gestation process, but the show is so good that all of us kind of stayed with it, and when MTV picked it up, we were like, let's do this thing, and it's really an unbelievable amount of fun. It's in the vein of kind of like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's got that feel to it, but animated, and it's a story about these two young kids, Mondo and Woody, played by Adam Brody and I, and our kind of journey through pubescence and falling in love and finding out what rejection is and learning about certain illicit drugs, and it's a celebration of the surf culture in California, and it's a pretty, I think, unique, wonderful show. And having seen most of the episodes myself, I can tell you that it gets even better and better throughout the season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, funny. There's certain lines that you just hear, and you know, like, this is going to be a good show. And that line in the trailer where you say, "Face it, in a world full of Kardashians, I'm the Chloe." Like, that line right there, it's like, that line is so good that even if there are no other lines that good, the show's going to be good. I mean, that's just hilarious.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny show, and the writing staff is absolutely brilliant. We have this brilliant director, Tom Brady, who's just unbelievable, and all these guys who worked on The Simpsons, and I think it's a really great show, and I would definitely recommend that people watch it. There's an unbelievable cast also: Danny McBride, Alan Tudyk, Tony Hale, Debbie Mazur, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. That's Good Vibes on MTV. I put MTV and NBC together for some reason. It's not on NBC.
That's okay. It'll be a new network. I think it sounds rather ambitious.
It's on MTV tonight after Beavis and Butthead. Have you ever surfed before in your life, Josh?
I did once.
You did, and were you good at it?
I was a lot thinner, and I was a lot more like active, and I was I was in Australia for a semester abroad. I'm like, I can totally do this. I'm going to rip these waves up.
And then you
almost got my head ripped off by a rock.
They ripped you up. Well, lots of good stuff for you. We'll check out your character trying to surf on Good Vibes tonight after Beavis and Butthead on MTV. And also, anybody making the trip out to New York, definitely check Josh out starring in Book of Mormon from the South Park guys out there. Josh, always good to talk to you, man. Best of luck with everything in the future, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
See you, brother. Have a good one, man.
The Big J Show. Weekday mornings from 6 till 10 on Billings' #1 hit music station, Hot 101.9.